Hi, everybody. It's Tim Hinton from Marching Arts Education. We're going to have a really interesting conversation with a first-year teacher, Neeraja Chandrasekharan. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And John Franklin from LCL Mentors. You've been working with her as a mentor. How are you, John?
I'm fantastic.
So we're going to share some excerpts from their conversation about her first year of teaching and how having a mentor has really helped her through that process.
You're working in a school that's very entitled, and and how are they going to respond to a person who doesn't look like them at all?
Totally.
And do you remember what we said? It's sort of the thing that came up in that conversation about that.
Just like show them like what someone like me can be.
Right.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you are that representation. You may not have the representation in your school, but you are that, and
Yeah.
to be in a position of influence and not just someone that's their peer that's away, but as you said, they can see someone like you who they've never seen before thrive and be exceptional. It's a pretty cool thing.
It is, though. It's pretty sweet. I don't know if I told you the story, but it was a couple weeks ago. I was like asking a question and I called on one of my Indian students. There are a few, and I said their name correctly because I am also Indian, so that's how that goes. And a couple of my non-Indian kids were like, "That's not how you say it," blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Okay, I love you, but hold on." And so I told them, like, well, people who look like me pronounce vowels and consonants differently, and our names are also not pronounced the way that they might be said here. And they're like, "You're Indian?" And I'm like, "Yep. Parents are from India, but I was born here." And they're like, "Well, you don't sound like it." I just had to laugh. Oh, I'm like, "You sweet little kids." But it was like cool because I know that growing up, like I never had someone who was also Indian who was in a position of educational power to like lift me up. So it's like really, it's like righting my wrongs now that I can like say these kids' names correctly, which is like something I got made fun of a lot when I was a kid. Like no one can say your name, or people would butcher it on accident. I mean, I've heard every version in the book at this point.
Sure.
But like to like call them by their name, like literally like how it's supposed to sound, like always makes me feel really good. So I agree. Yeah, it's cool to be that representation. It gives me some stress to think about it like that, but I think, I mean, my principal even tells me this every so often when I come to her feeling anxious. She's like, "No, I hired you for a reason." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm definitely supposed to be here." And that kind of like reinforcement is like it goes miles for me. So, yeah, totally agree.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of our conversations, especially, lately, have not really been about like the nuts and bolts of teaching and things like that, but you sort of alluded to it already. It's been so much about just navigating life and sort of finding your center. And I remember a conversation we had when you were talking about, I only get to see my students, so infrequently and all that stuff, and they allowed us to really talk about, okay, so what can your primary goal be with this?
Yeah.
What did you decide? What was it that you decided that the one thing you can certainly do, no matter how much time you have or don't have with your students, is what?
Yeah, to like the only thing that they should remember when they leave my room is how much fun they had.
Yeah.
To like associate music with positivity. That's pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, if that's all that you accomplish with them is that they just love music enough to want to continue to do it, then that's pretty big to do.
I've done my job. Across all 835 of them, I will take it. They're so wonderful. Right. Last week, a student, I do like parent drop off and pick up like in the mornings and afternoons. And I'm opening this car to let these kids in. I'm like, "Good morning." And I'm like not paying attention. I'm waiting for the next car and I feel a nudge on my shoulder. I'm like, I turn around and it's I think he's a second or third grader. And he's holding a bouquet of flowers. And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "For you." And I'm like, "Me?" And he's like, "Yep." I'm like, "Me? Like your music teacher?" And he's like, "Mm-hmm." And I'm like looking around to like my art teacher and one of my PE coaches, and they're like, "Yeah, that's a thing." And I like almost cried. I'm like, they're sitting in my living room. Like they're the nicest. When parents tell me, "Oh my God, my kids are singing your songs at home," or "Oh my God, my younger brother, taught me this song that you taught him," it's like, it feels so nice. It feels so good. I love hearing things like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's pretty powerful. I mean, not only are you making an impact on the students you have, but if they're taking that music home and that experience and sharing it with their family,
No.
I mean, that doesn't happen in a high school band situation.
No. Hey, mom,
I mean,
come listen to my opener. Watch this step off real quick. You like this visual? Like, okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
yeah, I mean, mom and dad are selling nachos and hot dogs most of the time during that time, right?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, not just with your students, but who knows how many families' lives are being impacted in a positive way, you know, where mom and dad is taking time to listen to your students, you know, sing that song or talk about their day.
Right.
And, you know, it kind of feels a little Andy Griffith and Pollyannish, but I mean, it's
sort
kind
of.
of, right? Just a little bit more of that, just sort of down home positivity and good things. Yeah.
It's funny you would say that. I work part-time with a high school program, and I was like still in my first or maybe second rotation of classes, so I'm still very new to my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is wearing a shirt from that high school. I'm like, oh, do you have an older sibling that goes there? And he goes, yeah, my brother. I'm like, oh, is he like in band or something by chance? And he goes, yeah, he's one of the drum majors. And I'm like, oh my God, you look just like him. And I went to their football game that Friday, and I like came up to their mom. I'm like, hey, I'm your younger son's music teacher and also kind of work sort of with your older son. She's like, oh my God, I've heard so much about you. And that was like the weirdest full circle moment, because a lot of my kids do have older siblings that are in this high school band, and I do teach quite a few of them. But to like meet the mom and be like, oh, I've heard about you, but then I'm also chaperoning, and like, oh my God, that was just so many crossroads happening at once. I like didn't even know how to feel. It was so cool. It was a good feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's been the biggest surprise for you so far this year?
I don't miss traditional band as much as I thought I would. I mean, I love it, but I'm also quenching that thirst by being a marching band tech. So it's like still happening for me, but like I don't have to worry about, okay, do you have a read today? Like, no, sharp means you pull out. Come on, you know, like it's okay, guys. Y'all remember the song from like a month ago? Okay, great. Let's review it. And now we're going to put some percussion instruments to it. Okay, now half of you are going to do boom whackers. And it like feels so, I'm someone who really needs structure. We've talked about that a lot. And to not have it, like not doing a program this year because of COVID has been really weird for me mentally, because I didn't really have end goals or projects that I could present to someone and say, oh, I did this. So coming out of that like structure and that, I guess, framework has been, as of now, a couple weeks since we've had that conversation, like really nice. Like this is whatever I want it to be. And of course it's going to be fun and relevant and it's going to be a good time, but like I don't have to subscribe to like standards of excellence or, you know, sound innovations, what have you. It's like, I don't know, it's the coolest thing. And I never thought I would like it, truly. I was very iffy about it because all we've ever known is B flat concert scale, give me a concert F triad, you know? And now it's like, okay, me first, then you, here we go. We're going to echo me. And it's just it's so cool. And kids are so smart and they shock you. And I have to remember that. They surprise me every day. And I value that so much.
Yeah, I remember that conversation. I think that was a pretty pivotal point for you. Because there was up to that conversation, there was always this little bit of unsettledness, in what we chatted about, and we were kind of, you're like figuring yourself out and sort of your goals and what you want to do and who you are, and sort of adjusting to that new, what the difference between your expectation and where you were now.
Yes.
But I remember seeing, like when we talked about, how all you have to worry about is just, again, let them love music and enjoy that. It was like this weight, you almost could see it physically lift off your shoulders in that, in that chat. And, I remember like that made my day. The rest of the day I just was on a high, just knowing that I didn't do a whole lot. It was just kind of asking you the right questions to get you to think about the stuff that you already knew. You just needed that extra outside voice to kind of just maybe give you that little bit of security to embrace the things that you felt, were true, your truth, you know what I mean? And maybe just to help give you some perspective, again, from somebody who's seen it and been doing it for quite some time. And
Totally.
It's cool.
Neeraja and John, great job. Thanks for sharing this conversation with us. And Neeraja, good luck as you continue your first year.
Thank you. I'm excited.